So today we're going to talk about rates. We've already learned about ratios, and a rate is actually just a type of ratio. So a rate is a comparison by division of two quantities, and remember that just means two amounts that have different units. So when we talked about boys to girls, those are both people. Or if we talk about red jelly beans to blue jelly beans, those are both types, those are both jelly beans. But an example of a rate could be how much money it cost for how many gallons of milk. Money and gallons are two different units. Or how many minutes it takes somebody to run how many miles. Minutes and miles are two different units. So those are rates. It's still a ratio though. Then we have what's called unit rate. That word unit in elementary school, you used units, which were little cubes that meant one. And so that's when the second quantity is 1 unit. So instead of telling me how many dollars you paid for 5 gallons, that would be for just 1 gallon. Or how many minutes it takes somebody to run 4 miles. Instead, we just want to know how much it took them to run 1 mile. So it's the 1 right here. And we've actually been doing a lot of unit rate problems this whole year. When it said per hour or per pound, those were all unit rate. And so to solve these problems that we're going to be doing with rates, we're going to use the box. You may have seen the box before. So let's remind ourselves how we use the box. So these first two sections of the box are for your labels. That is, what are the two units in the problem? So if it's about money and gallons, those would be your labels. Or if it's about minutes and miles, those would be your labels. You can usually find those right after the numbers. Not always, but usually right after the numbers. Okay, and then the two numbers that go here, these are the ratio or the rate, right? A rate is just a type of ratio. So the ratio goes there, and the way you know that it's the ratio is that it is the two numbers that are together in the problem. So there's going to be 3 numbers in the problem, but 2 of them are going to be either in the same sentence or the same part of the sentence, and that's the ratio. And then in the last 2 sections, one of them is going to stay blank because that's the number we're looking for. But like I said, there's going to be 3 numbers in the problem. So one of those is going to be for your third number. It could be the top or the bottom. It just depends on these labels. And then the other one is for your missing number, the one that you're solving for in the problem. Okay, so let's use this example about the cows over here to show how to solve the box. So it says there are 42 cows. So we know cows is one of our labels in 2 barns. If you see a word that's a number, I would always write the actual number out to the side. And then it says how many cows, I'm going to put a little question mark there because that's what we're looking for, are in 1 barn. So again, I'm going to put a little 1 there. Okay, so right here, these 2 numbers were in the same part of that sentence. They were there, then there was a comma. The 1 is all by itself after the comma. So we know the 42 and the 2 have to go together. So 42 was in 2 barns, then 1 barn. So it has to go here because that's for barns. Cows is blank because that's what we're looking for. Once you have your 3 numbers, you cover up the 2 that are diagonal from each other, and that tells us that our relationship or our arrows are going to start from the number that you still see. So in this problem, we could actually go either direction. I'm going to choose to go this way because I know that you can divide any number by itself and get 1. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. Then you draw a matching arrow. It has to be a perfect reflection. And if this one down here said divided by 2, then this one is also going to say divided by 2. And half of 42 is 21. That's how you solve the box. But remember, arrows can also go this way. So I could have also drawn an arrow from the 2 to the 42, as long as it started with the 2, because that's what I could see when I covered up my diagonals. So I could have said 2 times 21 is 42. 1 times 21 is 21. That would have also worked. Let's do one more. It says, Jennifer drives 2 hours to grandma's house. So that's how long it's taking her. And the picture here shows us that grandma's house is 120 miles away. And then it says if she drives 8 hours at this same rate, how many miles, question mark, will she drive? So I underlined some things, hours and miles. So again, your labels are just the two things that the problem is talking about. And in this case, it's hours and miles. And again, usually those are going to be right after the numbers. So this one's a little bit different because this is a picture. It's not actually in a sentence. But these two were given to us together. So that's the rate here. That's the ratio. So it's 2 hours for 120 miles. The 8 goes with this missing number that we don't know yet. So 8 hours, that has to go here because of our label of hours. We don't know the miles because that's what we're looking for. Remember, we're going to cover up our diagonal numbers. So that means that we're going to be starting with that 2. Now, I could easily go from 2 to 8, but I do want to show you in your notes that you don't have to go that way. So remember, we can also draw our arrows going up and down. There's something I can multiply 2 by to get 120. So 2 times 60 is 120. And again, your other arrow has to be a perfect reflection. So if this one's pointing down, this one should be pointing down. It should also always be pointing to your empty space because that's where we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to that number right there. And since our other one said times 60, that one needs to say times 60. I know 8 times 6 is 48, so 8 times 60 is going to be 480. So she would be able to drive 480 miles. Things to remember is that you have to start your arrows at a certain number. Your arrows have to be matching, and your only options for your arrows are multiplying or dividing. So look and see, are your numbers getting bigger? That means you need to multiply. If it's getting smaller, that means you need to divide. Okay, I hope that helped.